FunMasterMike presents the best chess game of Harvey. We're calling him the H-Man. And here we go. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, we are off and running. Bishop c4. Okay, black has to be careful. If knight f6, we get to play our famous double attack on f7, but black decided to play the Giocchio piano. But this game's not going to be that quiet. Is it going to be Rachmaninoff? Is it going to be Prokofiev? Well, that's for Harvey to decide. Now, you don't have to castle this early because the center is closed, but it is a reasonable move. And after d6, we definitely want to be thinking about this bishop's ability to pin our knight. So h3 would be the conservative move, but Harvey goes for bigger things and tries to get his bishop out. He's trying to slam dunk his opponent. Okay, bishop to g4. What is Harvey going to do about this pin? He's actually going to play something quite wise. After bishop to e3, we are guarding the d4 square just in case the knight hops in there. Now Harvey will have to get rid of his bishop pair, but at least he will avoid the variation where the knight captures the knight, and then you'll have to take back this way, and we all know Harvey does not want to open his king like that. So instead, after bishop to e3, we had knight to f6. Whose bishops are going to take each other? This is quite the tension. Those bishops are just going to have a staring contest for the moment. Okay, Harvey keeps on developing with knight c3. Now, a little more conservative approach would be to put the knight on d2. That would protect the pinned knight and would allow the queen to be able to move away and do other things later on. But Harvey has some designs on the d5 square. He's thinking about going fishing right in the center of the chessboard. And now, black blinks first. By playing bishop captures bishop, this helps Harvey a ton. Because after pawn captures, white gets control of the center, but more importantly, white gets the best rook on the board, and Harvey has a little bit of an avenue for his queen to sneak out. And if black castles kingside, that could be a big problem. Oh, looks like black wasn't listening. The black king did castle, and here comes the queen. Uh-oh, it's about to be "We will rock you" on the black king. Bishop takes f3. Well, that just helps Harvey again. Now after rook takes, the rook is getting even more active, and white's light squared bishop is now not going to be able to be challenged. One thing black might consider doing at some point in this game is playing knight to a5 and trying to get rid of the bishop. In fact, Harvey should value this bishop so much, sometimes grandmasters even push a pawn so the bishop can hide out on a2. Is it in the center? No. But is it aiming at the center? Sure is. It's also aiming, of course, at the king, and isn't that everyone's ultimate goal? I think so. Okay, black plays knight to g4. Not quite sure what this move does, because Harvey wants to move his queen over anyway, and we're just going to win a tempo on the knight. And this poor knight had to go back to h6. I suppose if it went back to f6, Harvey would just double rooks like normal and already be threatening rook takes knight thanks to the pin on the pawn. So black decided to hide on this, well, honestly, a quite sad square. Rook on a to f1, and this is beautiful. Every single one of white's pieces is working perfectly. Harvey, I know you like to play piano, but it kind of looks like you're a composer here. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call you Prokofiev. All right, so queen to e7. Well, at least black connected the rooks, but now comes the star attraction. Are you ready? Are you ready? Rook to f6, and everybody's stomping their feet all over the place, as Freddie Mercury would say. We are threatening rook takes knight, and of course, this pawn is pinned in all variations. In fact, one funny thing that I realize is that this pawn is pinned. So if black plays g6 as a means of defending the knight, it doesn't really defend the knight. Watch how this thing would have ended. Harvey would have played the spectacular rook takes g6 because the pawn's pinned. And if the black pawn takes, I mean, what else are you going to do? You're just going to lose your knight. If not, we'll capture this thing with check. Again, the pawn is pinned. Don't panic. King over. You might as well grab the knight. King over. And now, pretty much any rook lift wins. Rook f3 with the idea of rook g3. That looks like a winner. Rook f5 with the idea of rook to g5. That looks like a winner. You could even be super fancy pants and play rook f6 because rook g6 is going to be mate. Yep, that pawn is pinned in every single variation. I realize that black could sacrifice the queen to survive, but that's not much of a survival. In fact, even if your rook did not exist, you could probably win by knight d5 with the idea of knight f6 mate. There's just too much fun in this position. Let's go back though. Black played a smarter move. king to h8. And now in this position, there are some kind of interesting variations where you sacrifice the rook for the knight anyway, or you play knight to d5 and then sacrifice later. However, what I always tell my chess kids is that if you have the better position, there's no need to risk it if you're not sure. So in this position, why would we sacrifice when we can just make normal moves and still enjoy the much more pleasant position? That's what Harvey did. I think it's a very reasonable choice. The rook moved back because it was now in danger, and we're just going to organize our attack later on. Okay, black played f6, which weakens a few more light squares. That's not really that great of an idea. Knight to d5. Yep, that's one of the light squares that we like. The queen decided to hide on the d7 square. The knight went back to c3. I don't think Harvey has to be quite so shy. Maybe you could move your queen here and your rook here and see what happens. Keep bringing pieces closer to the black king. But I don't think we had to retreat our knight. Okay, but it doesn't really hurt us at all. The knight can always come back later on. Knight to f7, and then Harvey realizes, wait a minute, now the h-file is weaker, and he plays queen to h4. And I think I see some ideas. I think this rook is coming to h3 now. Knight to g5. Okay, that does stop this knight to h3 maneuver, but Harvey did not forget about the fact that he's got a rook on f1, a rook on f3. We call that the battering ram. And as our English grandmaster says in the ChessKid video, secrets of the battering ram. And if you can excuse FunMasterMike's British accent, here comes the hammer. Queen takes g5. And as they might also say in England, everything's gone pear-shaped for black. And when things go pear-shaped, those are not good things. Pawn takes queen leads to a very cool back rank. Checkmate, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes f8 mate, and a well-deserved best game from Harvey. He used every single piece in the attack, and it showed. Congratulations, Harvey, on this great chess game, and good luck in the future.